Hello students, good afternoon to you all. Hope all of you are doing well, right? Enjoying your time at home. No, we have had a kind of a sort of a delayed start today, students. Sorry for about 1 hour there is a delay. Today is our big match actually, so therefore I had to attend there and meet our friends over there. So that was also done. So and also we as professionals we have to manage all the stuff. So therefore I have to come here and do the presentation for you because we have a responsibility towards you as well. So students, last week completely we have discussed about our I would say the first assignment that is for you, that is the assignment on Pereira Constructions Limited, right? I rather than just giving the assignment to you, I have discussed the assignment with you. There are certain areas with regard to the assignment I have discussed with you. So the submission day of your assignment is, I think IBSL would have told you it's 15th. I will make it 18th, right? I have given the instructions to IBSL to make it 18th. So first assignment, students, take the actions to submit the first assignment on 18th, right? So your New Year holidays, use it for your what do you call for yes 17th, no? So Samadara, take it as 18th. I will inform IBSL team to make the necessary changes. So take it 18th, right? So Samadara, take it 18th. Everybody take it as 18th. So තව දවසක් වලට වැඩිපුර දෙන්නන්නේ because no New Year holidays are also coming. So analyze it in a kind of a broader perspective. ඒක ළමයි broader perspective එකකින් analyze කරන්න. The way I told you, right? The facilities were also given to construction case. Construction industry as a whole in Sri Lanka still not recovered. Tourism in the sense recovering, but construction still stuck a little bit, right? So therefore, what we're going to do, analyze it holistically with the known factors, best analysis, SWOT analysis, financial analysis that is there. So use all those analytical tools that you have and that you know. All done analytical tools use them and analyze the case to its maximum. That's what I need, right? And come out with a solution. Solution what you are proposing to this particular client. What's your proposal? Is it for a restructure, reschedulement, right? Or remedial action, whatever. Come up with your solution for the client by analyzing the entire environment. My objective of giving you that particular case to you students, to develop your idea, to develop your understanding and develop your judgment. It's all about judgment, right? Credit and remedial recovery so is all about judgment. Credit, remedial, recovery, everything is all about judgment. How you make those decisions. So what I need is to develop your judgment and take it as a case and develop our judgment. So submission date, first assignment submission date 18th, right? Submission date 18th April. So take it in that way. First assignment, submission date 18th April. Got it? Right, good. Okay, let's move forward, everyone. Let us move forward, everyone. Let's talk about bit on few more areas in terms of recovery remedial management, right? Students, let's talk about restructure, reschedulement, grace, and moratorium. Restructure. Yes, Janita, my contact number I will share you, right? I will share that with you all towards the end of the class. Restructure, reschedulement, grace, and moratorium. So write down, we are going to discuss that today. Restructure, reschedulement, grace, and moratorium. Write down this in your notebook. Write this down in your notebook. Restructure, reschedulement, grace, and moratorium. Students, let's talk about these concepts in detail and let's try to understand the theoretical aspect of it. And if you understand the theoretical aspect in detail, students, you will be able to apply these to your clients. Shall I ask you a small question? Right? I'll ask you a small question and I need your answers right now. Answers to go. Let's take this small case scenario and I need your answer, what you are thinking about it, right? Look at this. Let's assume your bank has given a loan to a client in tourism. Your client is in tourism. Our client tourism, right? Then your total loan exposure to that client, is rupees 100 million. Get the case. I need answer from each and every one of you, right? There are almost about 35 people. So I need answers from everybody. How you are thinking? How you guys are thinking? Tourism sector client, loan exposure rupees 100 million, right? Think. You have a property FSV, property mortgage, which is having a for sale value of rupees 500 million. Take the case. We are discussing restructure, reschedulement, grace, and moratorium, right? Let's discuss the scenario. Let's discuss our judgment about this client. Let's discuss the judgment. Property mortgage for sale value 500 million. Then assume the case client is stage 3 non-performing. Stage 3 non-performing. 960 days arrears. Take the scenario. Stage 3 non-performing, 960 days arrears. Scenario. Right? This is tourism, hotel in Goa. Total loan exposure 100 million, property mortgage for sale value 500 million, Client in stage 3 non-performing 960 days. Okay. So recovery action proceeding. And letter of demand sent. Letter of demand sent. Right? This is the scenario. Now, develop the background of the case. Case ke background develop karagan. Right? Tourism sector client. It's a hotel in Goa. Loan exposure 100 million. You have already granted loans of 100 million. Property mortgage for sale value 500 million is there of the security value. Client is stage 3, non-performing, 960 days in arrears. Recovery action proceeding right now. Recovery action going on. Letter of demand sent. Already you have sent letter of demand. Students, now the case is like this. Russian tourists arrive. Russian tourists arrive. The Russian tourists arrive. No, you all know, right? Now, out of the total tourist arrivals right now, we are experiencing to Sri Lanka, majority coming from Russia, right? Because of the Ukraine-Russia war, most of the tourists which are coming from Russia and India, people are coming. Now develop your concentration. Now students, this client is non-performing. You are proceeding with recovery action, right? Recovery action proceed karna. Letter of demands have also been sent. Letter of demand client. Client comes to you, right? Client comes to you. He says to the banker, sir, my situation is like this. I have not paid you for 3 years, right? Mamada, or do not give an 360 days in arrears. He says, sir, I am getting inquiries from Russian tourists. What inquiries in Russian tourists again, right? I know my loans are in arrears. Okay, loans arrears I know my loans are in arrears. So I am getting Russian tourists into Sri Lanka. And I also have a potential. Sir, I know almost 100 million I have not paid for 3 years. Million siyak mama avrudu 3ක් විතර ගෙව්වේ නෑ. I never paid. Sir, I know that you are proceeding with recovery action. Sir, can I have 10 million rupees for my refurbishment? To 10 million for my refurbishment of the hotel, a new loan. Can I have a new loan of 10 million to refurbish my hotel? So, sir, from that, I may be able to start up my hotel and bring down new tourists. And with that, I will pay you 100 million. 100 million pay කරන්න පටන් ගන්න. I will start paying 100 million to you. So he is requesting, request further 10 million loan, further rupees 10 million. 10 million for refurbishment of the hotel. See the scenario. He is further requesting 10 million for refurbishment of the hotel. He is already NPL, stage 3, non-performing. You are proceeding with recovery action. Letter of demand has been sent. So legal actions all are proceeding. You may be able to get the property very easily. You can take it very easily with parate. Students, what's your decision right now? Are you considering this 10 million? Are you granting this 10 million? Or are you continuously proceeding with recovery action? What's your decision? What's your decision? Samadara says we can grant it. How about others? What's your decision? I need your judgment, right? Non-performing loan client, tourist hotel, already in stage 3, non-performing, 100 million, right? Is in non-performing. You have a very good property, 500 million. Anytime with parate action that we have discussed, you can take it. But client has come to you and asking for another 10 million rupees loan to refurbish the loan, to refurbish the hotel, to bring down tourists and he commits to pay after that. What's your decision? Okay, decision take about. I need your response. What's your decision? Viragi, proceed with the new request. Amjad, grant with conditions. Amjad, superb. Madagama, consider the cash flow. Good. Very good. You guys are thinking. So how about others? Anita Goman, what's your thinking? He's asking a 10 million loan, right? Generally, for a client who is in non-performing, we may not consider. But here he's asking a 10 million loan to revive the business. Think. Right? Only few people have responded. How about others? Anita Goman, do you consider this? So do you proceed with it? Property for sale value very high. We can grant. Ekanayaka. Priyadarshana, how about it? Can consider with cash flows. Superb. What about you guys thinking? Students, that's the thinking pattern that I want to develop here. That's why we are conducting this particular program. Yes, Samita, grant with reschedulement of non-performing loan. Fascinating, right? Fantastic. Now, this is the new remedial that we are discussing, right? I will then come back to central bank guidelines, right? Mama, central bank guidelines, right? Yes, we can consider. Very good, right? So we'll come back to central bank guidelines. Students, nowadays, good old days, we were thinking about recovery. When a loan falls into arrears, non-performing, we were just thinking about recovery. Consider future cash flows and grant 10 million. Now here, look at the situation. Here, 100 million loan, right, which is in non-performing. Students, do you expect from the market and the industry which we are in right now, in the industry, market, through parate action, if you get this 500 million for sale value property, 500 million for sale property, if you acquire this 500 million for sale value property, right, if you acquire, will you be able to think of selling it? May got acquire a lot of auction down the Samadara, you may not be able to, right? Or may make a gatta gela 500 million. If your board just make the decision, and if your board is acquiring this property, I don't think the board will be able to take it. Board they make ganda back. Gattat vedak nalama, useless, right? No buyers, right? No buyers are willing to get the property. Your banks will have billions of worth of properties in their portfolio. But still, right now, the situation is such that those properties, the values are not there and those properties are not moving. So what you got to do? As a prudent banker, students, your judgment should be such that, right? What you got to do in this kind of a scenario, first visit the place. A place like a visit the place and identify why this loan has fallen into arrears. Why it had fallen into arrears? Now, for 3 years, it has been in arrears. Maybe from the East attacks time, right? After that, the tourism industry has gone through a very tough period. East attack again, tourism industry. Then what happened? Then the economic issues. Then the COVID issues. COVID, lockdown, East attacks, all these have impacted. Students, these issues, right? East attacks, COVID, then lockdowns, economic issues, right? Are those controllable by the client? Judgment. Develop the judgment. Judgment develop karna. Pest environment ka bhi kata karna. We are discussing about the pest environment. East attacks, COVID, right? Lockdowns, economic issues, fuel queues, social unrest, political unrest. Are those created by the client? Yes, some of the external factors that cannot be controlled by the borrower. Get the point, right? Everybody, get the point. And see whether these external factors are unable to be controlled by your client. Or your client ever control kind of bad. And see whether your client genuinely had a plan for that. So, your client a risk management plan. Your client needs to have a genuine risk management plan. See whether your client had that risk management plan genuinely. If your client had that risk management plan genuinely, students, If still the loan failed into arrears, students, your client can't do anything. And also, if you conveniently go ahead with this parate action, if you conveniently go ahead, students, you will have to wait for ages and ages and ages to get this out. Right? Even if you put this property on sale, no one will be there to buy. So what's the prudent decision for you? As most of you have said, prudent decision is to maybe your exposure will increase by 10%. Exposure new loan 10 million, your new loan is 10 million, so exposure will increase by further 10%. So you can get a judgmental call. You can go in front of the credit committee. Or credit committee go in front of credit committee, present the case, right? Analyze the best factors. That's why what I need. Rather than just going into restructure, reschedulement, grace, or whatever, or parate action, right, or whatever, students, evaluate the entire political, economic, social, and technological factors. If your client is innocent, after having all the risk management plans, still if your client has gone into arrears, what you can do, students, consider this loan by a cash flow plan, right? Your client must have a cash flow plan. So with that, you may go for a granting of fresh loan with covenants, restrictive covenants. 10 million refurbishment directly to the suppliers, right? AC suppliers, let's say contractors of painting and all. This loan will be dispersed to suppliers. And also, let's say tour operator incomes and everything will be bound to come to your account. So necessary restrictive covenants will be there. You may proceed with this 10% loan. Students, what is this called? Is it called recovery or is it called remedial? Make it again recovery, the remedial. What do you call it? Recovery or remedial? Tuan? Yes. Samita? This is known as remedial. Remedial. Right? Tukorla, yes, good. Yes, Viragi and Dilhani, fascinating, right? You guys develop that thinking, right? I want you to develop the judgment. That's why you came into this course, right? The course developing your judgment. So this is called remedial, right? Recovery is all, I would say, sampradayika. Conventionally, you did it, right? Loan against NPL, yeah. You tried to recover it, didn't happen. So you just go and parate action and you acquire the property. That's all conventional, very conventional. But this is unconventional, students, where what you are going to do, you try to take up the client, because genuine case is there where you can present to your board. Genuine case is there where you can present to your credit committee. So if these all are there, if all these are there, no problem. Can consider it, right? Yes, Gajanayak, any issue? Go ahead. Okay, right? Yes. Fascinating. Students, write down this. Right? Make an example. This information. Write down this information, everybody. And after this, I will be coming into the latest central bank guideline. Make a central bank guideline area. So write down this, everybody. Everybody write it down in your notebook. So tourism, hotel, loan exposure 100 million, property mortgage for sale value 500 million, client is stage 3, non-performing 960 days, recovery action proceeding, letter of demand sent, Russian tourist arriving, request for a facility of rupees 10 million, request for rupees 10 million loan, right? Request for a rupees 10 million loan. Students write down. Write in your notebook. When a client is in non-performing status, when a client is in non-performing status, when a client is in non-performing status for a period of time, and the recovery action is proceeding, and the recovery action is proceeding, comma, there is there is there is there is a judgmental call to be taken. A judgmental call, CAA. There is a judgmental call to be taken by the frontline credit staff, right? By the frontline credit staff, as well as the recovery staff, frontline credit staff, as well as the recovery staff, frontline credit staff, as well as the recovery staff, when it comes to the revival of the business, when it comes to the revival of the business. Whereas in the current business environment, it is the duty current business environment, it is the duty of the credit staff it is the duty of the credit staff to see the possibility, duty of the credit staff to see the possibility of revival of client's business, possibility of revival of client's business at a time of revival of client's business at a time of time of restricted business environment. At a time of restricted business environment. Next slide. In such instances, the bank staff may consider, such instances, the bank staff may consider even granting fresh loans. May consider even granting fresh loans. May consider even granting fresh loans. Even granting fresh loans. To revive client's business. Even granting fresh loans to revive client's business. Full stop. Okay, students, let's move on to these concepts one by one. Restructure, reschedulement, grace, moratorium. Let's talk about it, students. Restructure versus rescheduling. Write down. Restructure versus reschedulement. Write in your notebook. Restructure versus reschedulement. Restructure versus reschedulement. Students, now, before I move on to this area, right, you would have heard about this, no? Somewhere. You would have heard about this, no? Did you pick any difference between restructure and reschedulement? Difference? Anyone heard about it? If you have heard about it, just type in your chat box. What is the difference between restructuring a loan and rescheduling a loan? Anyone heard about it? Make a difference. Yes, Tuan, let's see. If the loan is performing, borrower wants to change the terms and Tuan, good. Umali, restructure done before going non-performing, good. Samita, restructure performing loans and reschedulement for non-performing. Fascinated, right? You guys spot on, right? Good. Viragi, reschedulements are considered when the advance is converted to non-performing. Very good job. Let's talk about it. Students, restructure. Now, restructure is a concept like this. Let's assume if your client is now repaying the loan, right? He is repaying, and your client is getting, let's say, stress factors from everywhere. Let's say your client is in hardware business, or a client in a hardware business. He's into hardware business, and your client is getting stress factors from everywhere. Stress factors coming from pestle environment, factors are coming. And your client has identified, if I go ahead like this, if I go ahead like this, I may not be able to pay. So what will happen? Client will approach you and client will say, sir, I'm going ahead, I'm paying your loan, but now I'm feeling that I'm facing some issues, some troubles. Sir, I will be able to pay, but sir, with that stress, I will be able to pay. මට ගෙවන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි මට ටිකක් stress, right? Because, sorry, my income levels have come down. හිතන්න ළමයි, ඔයාගේ income levels අඩු වෙලා. His income levels have come down. And let's say some of the business lines he had have already come down. Income levels come down, business levels come down. So he says, sir, මට අර මුලදී ගන්නකොට තිබිච්ච මගේ income එක දැන් නැහැ. That particular income which when I obtained the loan is no longer there. මං ගත්ත වෙලාවේ තිබිච්ච income දැන් නැහැ මං ගාව. So therefore, sir, what you can do, sir, can you restructure the repayment of this loan where can you just postpone some of the capital payment? පොඩක් capital payment එක පස්සට දාන්නකෝ sir. Just postpone the capital payment a bit. පොඩක් capital payment එක පස්සට දාන්නකෝ. So therefore, loan repayments may be manageable for me. Loan repayments මට ටිකක් manage කරගන්න පුළුවන්. Can be manageable. Are manageable for me. So can you do it for me? That's called restructuring a loan. As you all clearly said, it's prior to loan falling into non-performing, right? Stage 3 DPD 90 days panina issella. Before the loan categorized as 90 days DPD, right? Delinquency period 90 days panina issella. Repayment එක වෙනස් කරන්න. You are changing the repayment. Is known as restructuring of a loan. So prior to loan categorizing as non-performing, before it falls into non-performing 90 days, you restructure it, called as restructure. So you are changing the repayment. Reschedule means, students, once the loan has fallen into non-performing, right? Once a loan has turned more than 90 days arrears, 90 days arrears not us. Once it is fallen arrears more than 90 days, students, it's called reschedule the loan, right? So restructure versus reschedule. Give me a moment. These days, students, we all have this cough and fever, then cold, right? Influenza, things are happening. So in my house also, my little one and my spouse all got infected, and I also having a sore throat kind of a thing. So sorry for any trouble. These about 1 month we are having this thing. I hope you all will be free from any diseases, illness coming from this influenza thing, right? Okay, let's write down a small note, right? This is not in the tute. Make a tute again. So write down a small note. Small note, right there. Restructure and underline. Restructure and underline it. Restructure and underline. A restructure of credit facilities. A restructure of credit facilities a restructure of credit facilities is being done where is being done where the repayment of the loan is being done where the repayment of the loan is adjusted. Repayment of the loan is adjusted repayment of the loan is adjusted by repayment of the loan is adjusted by changing the repayment schedule. By changing the repayment schedule, write in different color. By changing the repayment schedule in a different color, before the loan fall into non-performing category. Before the loan fall into non-performing category. Within brackets, stage 3 in impairment, or a 90-day arrears delinquency period. Or a 90-day arrears delinquency period. Or a 90-day arrears delinquency period. Right. Students, let's talk about it. Restructure. What will help you to restructure a loan? What a loan එකක් restructure කරන්න ඔයාට මොකක්ද උදව් වෙන්නේ? What will help you to restructure a loan? What sort of indicators will help you to restructure a loan? ඔයාට loan එක restructure කරන්න help කරන indicators මොනවාද? What sort of indicators will help you to restructure a loan? If I ask from you, what sort of indicators will help you to restructure a loan? What are the indicators that will help you to restructure a loan? Fascinating. Tuan, you are there, right? You are fantastic. And Viragi, early warning signals. Can you remember the early warning signals we have discussed? The financial, the operational, right? Early warning signals, the covenant breaches, right? If you just follow the early warning signals coming from your client, right? If you just follow it, right? If you have the proper, yes, Ekanayaka, good, right? If you follow your client with the early warning signals, with the proper relationship, students, you get the feeling, මෙයාට මේක ගෙවන්න බෑ, right? මේ යන විදියට ගෙවන්න බෑ. He lost most of his income, right? එයාට income එක අඩුයි. He is into poultry industry, right? එයා ඉන්නේ poultry industry එකේ layer farming. bittara, right? The egg layers and the chicken feed is so costly. Feed එක ගණන් වැඩි, right? And also because of that the sales are less. Sales අඩුයි, බිත්තරයක් රුපියල් 55 60යි, 55 to 60, and sales are not happening. Eggs are being imported from India. බිත්තර ලංකාවට import කරනවා. So early warning signals. So because of this, I may have to restructure this loan. Restructuring of a loan, right, will help you to keep your client in performing books. Restructure එකක් ළමයි උදව් කරනවා ඔයාට ඔයාගේ client performing books වල තියාගන්න. And also you can go ahead with 2 restructures. Restructure දෙකක් වෙනකන් ඔයාලට යන්න පුළුවන් ළමයි. You can go ahead with 2 restructures, and if you if you go for the third restructure, automatically your client will fall into non-performing stage 3, right? Without falling your client into non-performing or stage 3, you can do 2 restructures. If you do the third restructure, he will fall into non-performing automatically, even though the DPD is 90 days or less. Get my point, right? Restructure තුනක් කරොත්, if you do 3 restructures, automatically he will be converted into 90 days DPD. Until that time, or the performing books වල ඉඳලා, keeping in performing books, you can do 2 restructures. Third එක කරොත් තමයි ළමයි මෙයාම NP වෙන්නේ. Got the point? Point එක ඔළුවට ආවනේ. Okay, so below that, write down another paragraph. These are the technical stuff that I want to tell you, maybe coming in your exam, right? Maybe coming in your exam. The bank relationship manager, the bank relationship manager will have to pick, relationship manager will have to pick bank relationship manager will have to pick write in a different color, early warning signals coming from the client, early warning signals coming from the client EWS, right? Early warning signals coming from the client which gives an indication to him to restructure a particular loan. Next line. A restructure of a loan will help the bank officers to keep the client to keep the client in the performing books. In the performing books. To keep the client in the performing books. Write down next one, reschedulement. Reschedulement. Write there, everybody. Reschedulement. Write down. A reschedulement is done by. A reschedulement is done by. A reschedulement is done by the bank officers. Reschedulement is done by the bank officers. Write in different color. Write in different color. Reschedulement is done by the bank officers. After a loan is classified as non-performing, where it has passed after it classified as non-performing, where it has passed 90 days of arrears. 90 days of arrears. Students, what's the benefit of rescheduling a loan to the bank? What lamai loan එකක් reschedule කරන එකේ benefit එක මොකක්ද? What's the benefit of rescheduling? Now, from the bank's perspective, rather than going for a parate action or for a legal action, what's the benefit of allowing a reschedulement and allowing your client to repay? What's the benefit of that to the bank? From the bank's perspective. Yes, one good. Mali, yes, after 3 months or 6 months, yes, Viragi, good, right? So after repayment, Samadra, yes, legal costs can be saved. That's also a good point, right, Janita? Keep the client, yes, right? So reschedulement, where the loan has gone into non-performing, but still you offer him some sort of a chance. The benefit is, let's say, based on the days they are after 3 months, Masa Tuna, or after 6 months, you can take the client into performing books. And also it will help you to reverse your impairment, right? Or the client performing books, yes, upgradation purpose, good, right? You can take your client into performing books, or a client of performing books, right? That will reverse the impairment provisions that you have made. Can you remember the impairments we have discussed? And there's a special impairment tutor also that has been distributed to you. Impairment right? I'll be discussing with you. So that will help you to take your client out of arrears, and it will be good for your portfolio health. Credit quality wise, it is good for you. Get my point, right? So write down a typical reschedulement. A typical reschedulement. typical reschedulement will help the bank in terms of portfolio quality. In terms of portfolio quality. We call it portfolio quality, students, right? In terms of portfolio quality, where after successful repayment, the bank will be able to after successful repayment, the bank will be able to take the loan into performing books. After successful repayment, the bank will be able to take the loan into performing books. Take the loan into performing books. Right. Good. Students, go to next one. Grace period. This is not in the tutorial. This is just straightly coming from the lecture itself, right? Grace period. Offering grace period. Right there. Offering a grace period. Students, sometimes when your clients are running a business, right, and you have granted a loan, there may be situations where your clients may lose their income. Okay, so sometimes, let's say your client is into a particular business. Assume the government has taken a decision. Where the government took a decision to temporarily suspend the importation of the raw materials of a particular business. Assume the situation. Government took a decision to temporarily suspend the importation of raw materials of a particular business. Now, at that time, your client may not have raw materials to produce his goods. Client raw materials business to run the business. And at that time, students, if he is unable to produce something, will he be able to pay your loan? Produce loan, right? So at that time, the problem is he may not be able to repay the loan. At that time, what you can do, rather than allowing your client to fall into non-performing, allowing your client to fall into kind of a delinquency, where your credit quality is also going down and your stage 3 portfolio going down, what you can do, you can offer your client something called a grace period. Why client grace period? Grace period means, you all know, it's an interest payment. They are here to service the interest, but capital not paid for specified period. Get the point? Interest will be continuously serviced, but capital may not be paid for specified period. Get the point?
So write down offering grace period, interest payment, capital not paid for specified period. Write that down in your notebook. एक notebook के बड़ा लिया ना मैं. So write down right there. In some instances, after obtaining a loan, and in the process of repaying it, after obtaining a loan and in the process of repaying it, comma, the client may lose his income. The client may lose his income. Client may lose his income. Comma, as an example, the government may impose a restriction on raw material imports. Government may impose a restriction on raw material imports. Next line.
in such circumstances, in such circumstances, rather than allowing the loan, to fall into non-performing, come on, bank can offer a grace period. Bank can offer a grace period. Can offer a grace period to the client. Can offer a grace period to the client. Can offer a grace period to the client. Where only interest has to be serviced. Only interest has to be serviced. And the capital repayment, interest has to be serviced, and the capital repayment can be postponed. Capital repayment can be postponed. Capital repayment can be postponed. Go to next one, students. Moratorium. Write down next one. Moratorium. Right there, moratorium. Moratorium. Students, in some instances, right, certain instances like where the central bank offers the government concessions, where what you can do, both capital and interest. The difference between moratorium and grace, here both capital and interest. Repayment postponed. See here. Both capital and interest repayment postponed. Capital lekai, interest lekai, dekama postpone karna. Students, what's the benefit of both capital and interest repayment postponing? I'm asking from you. What's the benefit of postponing capital and interest repayment? Anyone think from business perspective, from business angle? What's the benefit of postponing capital and interest? Both. In business perspective? Yes, answers are coming. Samadara, business will have more money to build up again. That's the benefit, right? From a business angle, from your client's angle, yes, Umali, the direct funds for working capital. So anytime when your clients, when they request a kind of moratorium, students, it's for what? Working capital build up. Yes, Nuwan? Janita, yes, working capital, no? So the business case for moratorium is, it will allow your client for his cash flow for working capital. It will allow him to buy stocks. Working capital in the sense, he can buy stocks. He can, let's say, allow more credit. So it will allow him to revive the business.
right? ඒකෙන් ළමයි එයාට business එක revive කරන්න පුළුවන්. At a time of, let's say, stress situation, at a time of, let's say, loss situation, stress එකක්, loss එකක්, right? If those kind of situations are there, it will allow your client to his working capital to be smoothened. It will allow your client to, let's say, revive his business, working capital to be smoothened. So that kind of a benefit is there. Anna a benefit එක දිනනවා ළමයි, right? Smoothen the business operations. Working capital will be there. He can, from the cash flow, because he is not paying the loan. Loan එක ගෙවන්නේ නැහැ. He is not paying the loan. It will help him to, right, build up the business again, to revive the cash flow. It's again a solution that you can offer to your client. Client දෙන්න පුළුවන් solution එක ළමයි. I'm asking. Once again, I'm asking the question. So once you offer him the moratorium, students, at that period the interest will be accumulated. A period again interest accumulate වෙනවා. That interest that will be built up, or the capital that will be accumulated, capital and interest that accumulated during that time, students, either you can grant that as a fresh loan that is to be repaid. ඒ කාලේ accumulated interest capital එක or a fresh loan එකක් විතර දෙන්න පුළුවන් ළමයි. You can offer that as a fresh loan, or you can, what you can do, you can postpone the repayment, right? You can extend the repayment from the back end. Back end again repayment එක extend කරන්න පුළුවන් of the loan. Of the loan, let's say if earlier the number of remaining installments were 36, what you can do, you can make it as 42. ඉස්සෙල්ලා ළමයි 36 නම් තිබුණා, අර දැන් 42 කරන්න පුළුවන්. Or else as a fresh loan you can give that particular accumulated interest and capital. So two options are there, right? Let's say if your moratorium period is 6 months, whatever interest and capital that will be accumulated during the 6 months moratorium period, where your client don't have to pay the interest and capital accumulated, you can grant as a fresh loan to be repaid after the moratorium period. Or else what you can do, you can extend, use the words, right? Extend the remaining tenor and allow your client to repay. Repayment period extend kalla, maybe 36 to 42, you can allow your client to repay. So that kind of, students, new concepts. These were not there in Sri Lankan banking industry some time back, right? About 2-3 years back, these were not there. But now these things are happening. So write down a debt moratorium. A debt moratorium can be offered to clients. A debt moratorium can be offered to clients where the client is not required, to repay both the interest and capital. Client is not required to repay both the interest and capital. Yes, that's a question. Both the interest and capital. Samudra, I will come to your question right after this thing. Good question. Next line. The interest and capital, which is accumulated during the moratorium period, interest and capital accumulated during the moratorium period can have two solutions. Can have two solutions. DP Atukor, I will come back to that, right? Can have two solutions. Number one, grant as a fresh loan. Grant as a fresh loan. මෙවැනි ප්‍රශ්නයක් KV exam එකේ, right? From this there will be a question. Grant as a fresh loan. In addition to the existing loan. Grant as a fresh loan in addition to existing loan. Grant as a fresh loan in addition to existing loan. Number one. Number two, extend the remaining repayment period. Extend the remaining repayment period. Extend the remaining repayment period. Extend the remaining repayment period of the borrower. So that the moratorium period capital and interest. Atukorla, Samadara, I will come to your answers, right? Come to your questions. The moratorium period capital and interest can be recovered at the back end of the loan. Moratorium period capital and interest can be recovered at the back end of the loan. Right. Students, let's move on to benefits to bank and benefits to client. Moratorium. Students, put up a table. Benefits to bank. And benefits to client. Benefits to bank and benefits to client. Yes, good points. Points are coming up. I will answer, I will discuss all your points. Tuan, Samadara, right? Atukorla. Points are benefits to bank, benefits to client. Because this is a very practical scenario. Because I wanted to make this course very practical. That's why all your questions are also coming. So let's discuss all those. Benefits to bank and benefits to client. Put up a table. Students, benefits to bank. I think Atukorla, you asked it, right? Let's move on to that first, right? What are the benefits to the bank? The benefits to the bank is definitely you can keep your client in performing books. When you keep your client at the performing books, the benefit is, students, you don't have to make provisions from your profit, right? Our client performing book what a client provisions there should not be any impairment provision, not any, but you don't have to make higher impairment provision. So client is in performing books. That's the benefit you have. And there is another question that you have asked, Atukorla. Banks have charged additional interest on the same. I don't think banks have charged additional interest, right? Moratorium period additional interest charge kara muladi, right? I think central bank thereafter said that moratorium loan has to be given free of charge. Right? So that particular moratorium period interest and capital, you turn it around as a new loan, no? Right? Let's say that 6 months period, whatever the interest and capital accumulated, you grant it as another loan. So banks have charged capital, charged an interest on that. What the central bank said, make it free of charge. Central bank will make a free of charge. If not, a kind of, let's say, reduced interest rate charged. So that has come. So I don't think many banks have charged additional interest. Interest, additional high interest, no one charged, right? Either they have offered it free of charge, right? Or else kind of a lesser interest they have charged. That's the answer to your next question. And there is another question which has been. So I think, Atugola, I answered your two questions. Where one is the bank will be able to keep the client in the performing books, and the other one, banks have offered this as free of charge loan or else a reduced interest rate loan. Because banks also have to earn something, because at that time, even though you have suspended interest on loan interest suspend do not what's the point other side, right? Can you say right now? People say that yes, Samadra, bank has to pay interest on what? Has to pay interest on the deposits, right? Interest on the deposits bank have to pay. So it's all about cost of capital and time value of money, right? Like the loan customer can say that it's not good for you to charge additional interest on my moratorium loan, but it's all about what? It's all about cost of capital, right? Time value of money. Due for that period, students, the banks have paid interest without any problem to the deposit. Deposit holders have conveniently got their interest. Get my point, right? Deposit holders la kisi prashna naduwa, right? Comfortably they got the deposit interest. So at that time, something have to be charged, students, right? Something has to be charged. So no one has reimbursed the banks kind of that moratorium loan. No, a moratorium loan support bank would. So at that time, for the time value of money, banks have to be compensated, right? So that's the principle that is there. And yes, the rates were below 10%. No, sometimes 6.5. That sort of a rate has been charged for that loan. That's what a body rate even that has been charged, because the deposit holders were paid. Many people don't talk about that part, right? Deposit holders had to pay kara, and that is on the spot paid for the deposit holders. We have not suspended. So time value of money is there, because that moratorium period loan we capitalize, we charge after a particular period. A period time value time value of money. So that for that, bank should be compensated. Otherwise, banks are also doing a business. It's not a charity, right? Good points, but Atukorla, very valid, very good points. Samadara, sir, one small question. If the Central Bank of Sri Lanka issues circulars pertaining to moratorium, is it mandatory for the banks to provide such moratorium to the eligible clients if they request? Very good point. Right now, very recently also last month, Central Bank has issued a kind of a concession circular. So if the clients are eligible, students, the bank may, right, must, I don't say must, banks may provide the concession, right? Because it is not mandatory. It's mandatory නෑ. ඔය ඔක්කොම කියලා තියෙන්නේ all these are banks discretion, right? Offering of a concession or not is whose whose discretion? කාගේද මේක අයිතිය? Whose discretion? This is bank's discretion, students, right? The total discretion of this lies with the bank. මේකේ සම්පූර්ණ බලය තියෙන්නේ බැංකුවට. So for an eligible client, whether to give a concession, moratorium or not, I would say banks must නෙමෙයි, banks but may consider සමදරම්, right? බැංකුව may කරනවද නැද්ද කියන එක, it's at the bank's discretion. Got the point, right? May. Tuan, sir, can we offer a rebate if the customer willing to pay the accumulated interest or capital? Very good point. Rather than granting him a loan, if the offer for him, the rebate is lost to the bank. Tuan, it's a call that the bank has to make. Let's say, if you wait for, let's say, another 12 months as a monthly commitment that you recover that loan, moratorium period, or let's say moratorium period, whatever the capital and interest that has been accumulated, it's a bank's call whether to recover that over a period of 12 to 24 months as a loan or offer a rebate and get it bulk. That's bank's call. So if you offer a rebate and collect, Tuan, you may have an interest loss. What a loss එකක් තියෙනවා. But since that you are offering, let's say 20%, 25% rebate you offer, and you collect the cash upfront, or cash upfront collect කරගන්නවා. So with the time value of money, we all call about time value of money. Time value of money, right? Time value of money, important or not? Let's assume if a one particular client, I make a practical scenario again, take the practical scenario. If a one particular client is having a moratorium period accumulated interest and capital, which is about 5 million. Moratorium loan 5 million. Say moratorium loan 5 million. Client comes to you and say, sir, I don't need a 24 months loan. But a 24 months loan එකක් ඕන නැහැ. I don't need a 24 months loan. What I will do, give me a 10% rebate. මට 110ක rebate එකක් දෙන්න. I will pay 4.5 million. මම ඔයාලට 4.5 million දෙන්න. Upfront. I am selling my vehicle. මම මගේ vehicle එක sell කරනවා. I will pay you 4.5 million. That's what Tuan has asked. So you are incurring an interest loss of 500,000. Or 500,000 interest loss එකක් incur කරනවා, right? So rather than getting 5 million, 4.5 million you are getting. So loss of 500,000. But what's the benefit you have? What is the benefit? This 4.5 million you can again lend at what percentage? Or rebate එක දෙන්න ළමයි 10%. Your rebate is 10%. But this 4.5 million, at what percentage you can lend again? And 4.5 million upfront that you have taken, at what percentage you can reinvest at loans? Then rate take here 24%. Now, from holistic perspective, from total portfolio perspective, did the bank incur a loss or profit? How about it? Tuan, from a holistic perspective, total portfolio perspective, have you earned a profit or loss? These are the judgmental calls that you have to take. Good point, huh? Good question. How about it? From holistic perspective, by whatever the money that you got upfront, you reinvested it. You reinvested and you are earning good, right? At a time when the banks are low on capital, capital adui, low on capital, what Tuan has said, right? That particular arrangement is good for the bank, right? Even though you feel like you are incurring a loss there, but still by reinvesting, you can make profits. Got it, everybody, right? So write down benefits to the client. I think we have written this. Benefits to bank we have written. Write down benefits to the client. Hope I answered all your questions, right? Good questions, everybody. Samadara, Tuan, Atukorla, right? Who else? Priyadarshana. Good points. Very good. Benefits to the client. Write down. Availing of a moratorium. Availing of a moratorium. Availing. AVAILING. Availing of a moratorium. Sorry. Will allow the client. Will allow the client will allow the client to adjust his cash flow. To adjust his cash flow to adjust his cash flow so that the client's working capital will be comfortable. So that the client's working capital can be comfortable. So that the client's working capital can be comfortable. It will allow ALLOWED. It will allow the client to realize cash from debtors, allow the client to realize cash from debtors, comma, to realize cash from debtors, comma, invest in more stocks, that would result in better repayment of loan. That would result in better repayment of loans. Full stop. Okay, students, we worked for about 2 hours, right? So what we're going to do, we will have a small break, right? So we discuss about restructure, rescheduling, grace, moratorium, and we discuss about practical scenario with regard to tourism sector. We will have about 15 to 20 minutes break. Right? We start back around 4:35. 4:35 today, students, we are going until 5:30. We are going until 5:30. So we'll start at around 4:35 after a small break. Students, we will be discussing thereafter. We will be discussing the latest central bank guidelines with regard to concessions to your clients, right? So we are going to discuss it. So that particular central bank guideline, IBSL has shared with you. But let's meet at 4:35, everybody, and then we'll go. Okay, right. So before the break, we have had a, I would say, very constructive discussion about restructure, reschedulement, offering grace period, moratorium, right? And classic case of these areas, right, where we took a decision and we, I would say, practically we have identified how we have to exercise our judgment, how we got to exercise our judgment, and I would say provide solutions to our client. Not only recovery, right? The point is this: not only recovery, and it is remedying your client. Client remedy, right? Remedying your client. This is what is expected from the bankers during this time of the period, right? Because it's a kind of an unprecedented calamity, unprecedented situation where world scale also the banks have been finding it really difficult to sustain their business. You would have seen in practical scenario, 2 strong US banks have collapsed, right? Very recently, strong, I would say those are not weak banks, right? Those were strong US banks. If you can remember, what were the names of those banks that have recently filed for bankruptcy? Bankruptcy declare karavu banks, what were they? Can you put that in chat box to open up the discussion? What were the banks in USA that have filed for bankruptcy? Anyone can remember? You can use your chat box, right? What were the banks? Right? So the banks were Silicon Valley Bank. Yes, Lehman Brothers. Silicon Valley Bank is the first one, right? Very recently, as well as what? Credit Suisse, right? The Switzerland Bank, Credit Suisse. Now, all those were students were, I would say, highly successful, as well as no one ever thought that they will be crashing down, right? Kisima kenek balaporuttu naha. And in terms of Silicon Valley Bank, right, their auditors have given unmodified opinion. Auditors have not picked going concern issues, right? The bankruptcy of the bank or going concern issues were not being identified by the auditors during the last financial year. So to that extent, those banks were doing well. Should have now see the situation. Now that's in USA, right? But imagine Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has gone through a very tough time. Get my point, right? Sri Lanka has gone through a very tough time. And we have gone through 2019 issues, right? So yes, to 2019 we have had very tough time with regard to the Easter tax, then COVID, right? Then the lockdowns, then economic bankruptcy of Sri Lanka, the dollar issue, right? The banking sector issues. Students still, right? Sri Lankan banking sector was well managed, I would say, by the central bank as well as all the respective banks, right? We have managed relatively, right? Banking sector has gone through very stressful scenarios where dollar issue was there, right? Rupee liquidity shortage was there, and also students' staff turnovers, all those were there. But still, all of you, right, and including ourselves, we all can be very proud of the way the things have been handled, right? Anyone can come and say, right, Sri Lanka is poor in certain things, poor in terms of the GDP, poor in terms of something, kind of a very kind of pathetic state of economy. Students, now people can say that, but as bankers, you can be proud of who you are, right? You can be proud of who you are because all your institutions, even though all those stress coming from different arenas where your clients are not paying, about 25 to 30% of your portfolio not being paid, right? Wage portfolio එකෙන් 125ක් ගෙවන්නේ නැහැ, right? Under moratorium, under concession, under grace period. Still the situation was there, but our regulator, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, and all your banks, right, with all this pressure, was being able to endure our problems, right? Still, we were being able to manage and we were being able to sail through most of the difficult period. Then, what's the next hurdle that we have to go through? අපිට ඊළඟට pass කරන්න තියෙන hurdle එක මොකක්ද? Anyone? Right? In next 2-3 months, what is the next hurdle that the banking sector has to pass through? Anyone updated with regard to those? Easter tax, then students, COVID, lockdown, economic difficulties, the dollar shortage, the rupee shortage. We all gone through that. What is the next hurdle that we have to pass through? අපි එකක්වත් collapse වෙන්නේ නැතුව අපි ගොඩ ඒ කියන්නේ ගොඩ නෙමෙයි, but what you call we gone through, we sailed through it. What's the next issue that we have to conquer? ඊළඟ අපිට තියෙන hurdle එක මොකද්ද? අපිට පනින්න තියෙන කඩුල්ල මොකද්ද ළමයි? What is the next hurdle? Anyone? You should be aware, right? There will be questions on this. What is the next hurdle that the banking sector has to go through? Anyone? Some other are not the interest rate. Interest rate now coming down. Anything else? Anyone else? Interest rate limit, not that. Repay the Indian credit line to earn, not that. Loan repayments, Viragi, part. What's this? What is it? The next hurdle that we have to go through. What is it? Yes, that is the domestic debt restructure. The domestic debt restructure. Where now we know the governor has also stated within next 2-3 months we have to finalize the roadmap for domestic debt restructure. Treasury bills and treasury bonds, right? Treasury bills and treasury bonds. About 60% of the government's treasury bills and treasury bonds, which is domestic rupee denominated, is held by central bank. So for that, there should be some sort of a restructure has to offer, because external creditors, external lenders to the government require domestically also students some sort of a restructure should happen. So without, I would say, much of a favoration, government has to go through domestic debt restructure. So part of the government's treasury bills and treasury bonds are held by the banking sector. So if there is a restructure, that will have a pain on the banking sector as well. මොකක් හරි restructure එකක් වෙනවා නම් ළමයි ඒකේ pain එකක් banking sector එකටත් තියෙනවා. There is some sort of a pain. So these days there is a due diligence that is being done by IFC on the balance sheets of the bank, whether this domestic restructure, whether this domestic debt restructure can be borne by our banking sector. අපේ banking sector එකට මේ DDR එක දරා ගන්න පුළුවන්. Can it bear it? There is a kind of a due diligence happening. So we have, I would say, we have somehow managed last 4 years the troubles. If we sail across this thing, DDR, I would say, students, Sri Lankan banking sector would be quite okay, right? Make up panagatto. If we go through this hurdle as well, students, Sri Lankan banking sector, we can say thereafter is quite okay, right? And once again, I'm repeating, you all have to be proud of, right, what you have done during last 4 years, right? පහුගිය අවුරුදු 4 ඔයගොල්ලෝ කරපු දේ ගැන ඔයගොල්ලෝ හැමෝටම ආඩම්බර වෙන්න පුළුවන්. You all can be proud of what you have done. Many people will not say that, right? Many people would not appreciate it, right? කවුරුත් එක appreciate කරන්නේ නැහැ. If you can remember, I'm just telling all this because your job has a value. You can remember there was a time when the fuel ship came into Colombo port, right? And then only, students, we were fined in dollars to be paid for that. Can you remember that time? People were on the queue, right? People were on the queues for days and days. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. People were on fuel queues, gas queues. Ship on the shore, but not unloading the goods until we source the dollars. So every bank got together and financed that and unloaded the ships and allowed the economy to move, right? It had been done by the banks, not anyone else. Get my point, right? So every one of you, again, I'm reiterating, can be proud of what you have done, right? During that last 3-4 years, can be proud of, right? One day, right? You can be satisfied that you have managed this difficult time period as one, right? As one banking sector fraternity. Okay, good. All good. Students, am I correct or not? I'm just asking. What's your response? Any different thoughts? Are you in agreement or not? Yes or no? Are you in agreement with what I said or not? What's your point? Yes or no? One? No? How about others? Samadra, Virag, Durangode, yes. Agree, no? Can be proud of Priyadashana? Yes. We should be proud of what we have done. We should be, right? Okay, give me 1 moment, students. Right. Students, let's move on to one of the most recent central bank guidelines. In your exam,
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, a note on benefits to banks was not given, sir.
Which one?
Moratorium benefits to banks.
Didn't I give you? I gave you only for the client, no?
Yes, sir.
Right. Thank you for reminding. Let's write down that and go into this particular thing, right? So in our table that we have put down, benefits to bank. Sorry for that. Benefits to bank. So this side, write down there. Thanks for reminding, right? Benefits to bank. This will be tested now. Benefits to bank. Right there. The bank will be able to. Bank will be able to keep the loans in the performing books. Bank will be able to keep the loans in the performing books so that unnecessary impairment charges as well as provisioning can be avoided. Unnecessary impairment charges as well as provisioning can be avoided. Write down another one. Another one. will allow the bank's clients a smooth repayment. And revival of client's business. Will open up. Revival of client's business will open up more opportunities to the bank. Within brackets, will open up more opportunities to the bank. Within brackets, cash management, comma, deposits and liability products, cash management, comma, deposits and liability products, etc. Deposits and liability products, etc. Right, good. Let me share my screen to you. Look at the students, the latest Central Bank of Sri Lanka guidelines issued, right? The latest CBSL guidelines issued with regard to concessions offered to your clients, right? ඔයාලගේ clients ලාට issue කරපු latest concessions තමයි මේ. See, let's read it together, everybody. Propose concessionary measures to micro, small and medium enterprises, which is also known as MSMEs and individuals affected by present macroeconomic conditions. The prevailing extraordinary macroeconomic conditions have given rise to an imminent threat on the repayment capacities of capacities and sustainability. Students, as I told you, as we discussed, many of your clients, their repayment capacities have been affected. That's what we say, offer grace, offer moratorium, restructures. That's the reason. Engaged in various economic sectors and the individuals, including fixed income earners, like your salaried customers and pensioners, hereinafter referred to as borrowers. The continuation of these adversities would pose a severe threat on banks' recoverability of outstanding loans and advances. This is what, students, as we said, that's what we said. Why we have to offer this moratorium, offer this grace, offer this restructure. Students, if something happens to your client's repayment capacity, that will have a definite direct impact on the bank, right? So you can't just forget about what happens to your client, right? Whatever happens to your client will have a direct impact on the bank itself. This is what central bank has said. Accordingly, with a view to encourage MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprises, and individuals with potential to revive their businesses' income streams to commence repayment of loans while preventing any elevated strain on the banking sector. the licensed commercial banks and licensed specialized banks, hereinafter called as licensed banks, are required to provide appropriate concessions, including following. So banks have to have appropriate concessions like this. Number one, restructure and reschedule the credit facilities of performing and non-performing both. Restructure and reschedule both the performing and non-performing borrowers who are adversely affected by the prevailing adverse macroeconomic conditions on the basis of an objective assessment, a fair, unbiased assessment on the future repayment capacity, viability of the business. Number one. Number two, second one. So first thing, students, look at it. We have to offer restructure and reschedulement for the affected clients. That's the first thing. Number two, look at 2.2. Suspend the recovery action against non-performing credit facilities that have been classified as non-performing on or after 1st January 2020 on a case-by-case basis. Based on an objective assessment on the future repayment capacity, viability of the business, upon the condition that the borrower submits acceptable repayment plan. Make it very important, right? මෙතන තමයි ළමයි client ලයි අපි අතර disagreement එකක් එන්න තියෙන. This is the place, this is the paragraph where there can be a disagreement with the client and the bank. See, read it again. Suspend recovery action against non-performing credit facilities that have been classified as non-performing on or after 1st January 2020. That's the lockdown COVID period now. On a case-by-case basis, based on an objective assessment on the future repayment capacity, viability of the business, upon the condition that borrower submits an acceptable repayment plan. Students, I'm asking from you, look at this and let me know, is this available for willful defaulters? Make my willful defaulters available then. Is it available to willful defaulters or not? We knew who are willful defaulters by now. Is it available to them? What's your plan? What's your response? Students, is this available for willful defaulters? Let me see. What's your response? No. Right? Samita? Good? Everybody? Yes. Good job, right? This is not available for willful defaulters. So that doesn't mean making kiyanne nෑ ළමයි. That doesn't mean these concessions are available across the board. Right? Make concessions ළමයි across the board available nෑ. Let me share the screen again. Right? These concessions are not available across the board. Okay, so willful defaulters, these concessions not available, right? So suspend recovery actions against non-performing credit facilities that are being classified as non-performing on or after 1st January 2020 on a case-by-case basis. I think a question was asked by Samadara or someone, sir, is it must for us to grant these concessions? Question, right? One of you asked in the chat box. It is not a must. Get that point, right? If one of your clients comes and tell you who is a willful defaulter, right? Who willfully defaulted your loans and grant these concessions and suspend the recovery action. Students, that's not the case. These concessions, restructure, reschedulement, moratorium or grace period or whatever is not relevant for willful defaulters. This is for genuine cases for borrowers who submit an acceptable repayment plan. Acceptable repayment plan එකක් ගේන කෙනෙක්ට විතරයි ළමයි. Only for genuine cases. Okay. Others, we can proceed with recovery action. Get the point? So then facilitate early settlement of existing performing or rescheduled credit facilities without charging any additional interest. Early settlement charges and recovery of future interest applicable to these facilities. So any future interest charged, early settlement fees should be waived up. You are requested to circulate blah blah blah. So that's, students, what the governor of central bank clearly said. Okay, so I wanted to discuss with you because this is the most relevant, most updated 2nd March 2023 guideline on concessions issued by our governor. So it's very clear for borrowers who are willful, these are not applicable. So write in your notebook, students, write down concession heading, right? A small heading. Concessions circular. Concessions circular. Concession circular issued by concession circular issued by the governor of CBSL. The governor of CBSL dated 2nd March 2023. Dated 2nd March 2023. Sorry. Dated 2nd March 2023. Below that, write down that point, right? Maybe testable in the exam. Can be, right? Your exam, students, keep in mind, is very updated, very logical exam that is coming, right? So therefore, be prepared with all the relevant updates that we have discussed in the class. Write down. As per the circular, as per the CBSL circular, the proposed concessions are for the proposed concessions are for clients who defaulted due to genuine reasons. Defaulted due to genuine reasons and not for willful defaulters. And not for willful defaulters. Next line. Therefore, the banks may proceed with the banks may proceed with therefore the banks may proceed with their recovery actions against the borrowers who are willful defaulters. Borrowers who are willful defaulters. That I wanted to tell you, students, everybody, because the point was, this is very critical because clients may come and ask all sorts of concessions from you, showing these circulars and all. So if the client is a willful defaulter, he willfully diverted funds out of your accounts, he willfully didn't pay you, right? He diverted funds out of your accounts. Let's say he didn't cooperate with you in terms of repayments. For them, these are not relevant, right? These are not relevant for them. For them, you proceed with your own letter of demand. You proceed with your parate action. You proceed with your acquiring the assets. That's not a problem for them, students. Got the point? Right. So, students, today we have had a very good practical discussion. I would say very examinable practical discussion in terms of the recovery, the remedial, restructure, reschedulement, the grace, the moratorium. We have had a very good discussion. And also we took a practical case out of tourism scenario. And then, students, the latest central bank guidelines, the circular we have discussed. So all these were shared with you, right? The materials are with you. Students, so we have last week discussed the first assignment. So assignment submission date 18th April. Format, students, you can use whatever the format, right? Format you are free. First one, I'm not limiting you. It's up to you, right? Kamathi Vidyakat, come up with a solution for this. And someone requested my contact number. So my contact number 077 22 81915. That's my contact number, right? Anyone of you can contact me. I'm always there. If I miss the call, students, just call me back or WhatsApp, put me a reminder, right? So that's like that. 077 22 81915. You can reach me anytime. So, students, I think next week we will have the New Year holidays, and after that we'll meet up and we will continue our good work. So today we will wind up the class at that point. So take care, everybody. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thanks a lot.